Now we're going to get into grace, right? The whole grace thing, like, and people are like, hyper grace. Oh, be careful, like how you teach people grace, like, and try to teach people grace. If you teach people grace, then all of a sudden, like, they're just gonna take that and make that a license to sin. Well, I don't know where people get this stuff from. Like, guess what? What wasn't working? Like, trying to make people uphold the law didn't work, right? You can't guilt people into doing good. You can't say, oh, you know what, do this or else. Like, it doesn't even work in society. Gun crime still exists, but guess what? Uh, you know, committing violence is a crime. Like, there's laws on the books that try to deter all kinds of criminal behavior, but guess what? They still take place. So, you know, trying to strong arm lawfulness down somebody's throat is not going to effectively deter bad behavior. But yet people now all of a sudden seem to want to reject, like, trying to promote the message of grace as some, like, way of, like, encouraging bad behavior. Why? What's that based off of? I don't get it. I don't get why somebody would discourage trying to have grace. Now, when they say hyper grace, if they mean that there is somebody out there preaching like, oh yeah, you're saved, so now you can do whatever you want to. Yeah, I would disagree with that message 100%. I would say whoever's teaching that is a liar. Whoever's teaching that is promoting a false message. God never said that. Jesus never said that. The apostles never said that. It's just not in the Bible. But then that's an easy thing to say, and then you're done. But aside from that, if somebody's just teaching like the way to get saved is by grace through faith alone, well, that is in the Bible. That is spiritual. That is godly. That is Jesus. Like, grace is what saves. Jesus demonstrated this time and time and time and time again. You know what? Every time that he went to deliver this message, every time that he demonstrated this message, he didn't wait for people to demonstrate goodness. He didn't wait for people to try to demonstrate worthiness to his grace. He just gave it to the woman at the well, to the thief at the cross, to the woman who was about to be stoned. He didn't say, "Oh, you got it. You proved your uprightness to me. Now I'm going to save you." No, he accepted them as they are and said, "You know what? I forgive you." The thief at the cross never even said he was sorry. These people never even say they're sorry. So it's also not even about an apology. You don't have to say, "God, please forgive me," in order for you to get it. You get it already. It's a gift. You get grace. Jesus gave it to you at the cross. All you got to do is take it. But when you take it and understand the depth of what you're receiving. You're receiving grace by a God who loves you so much that he died for you. He loves you so much that he died for you after knowing how ugly, awful, and nasty you are. Like, it's not that he did it not knowing who you are. This is just it. You are truly known and truly loved. God truly knows you. And guess what? He's not wiping his hands of you. He loves you anyway. He loved you so much that he said, "I'm going to die for you." The awfulness and the nastiness warrants a death sentence. You deserve death for your awfulness. You deserve death for your sinfulness. You deserve death for your ugly nastiness. But you know what? I love you so much that I can do something about it. I'm going to take your crimes and I'm going to nail them at the cross for you. I'm going to take your sin and I'm going to become sin for you at the cross. I'm going to take all of God's wrath, fury, and judgment, and I'm going to nail it at the cross. It is finished work at the cross. That's how much he loves us. That's how much he wants us to be in his presence. How can you not be on your knees and say, "Thank you, God"? How can you still stand there and be in rebellion and say, "I spit at your face, God. I don't want any of this great stuff. I think you're a ghost. I think you're a myth. I think you're a unicorn. I don't believe in you. I hate your guts. I hate what you did to this world." Like, that's what's happening in the world instead, is people are spitting in the face of God. Maybe it's because they don't know what he's been doing for us, and that's why you have to try to get this message out. But it's so sad. It's so sad when people just stand in open rebellion, in total defiance against God. And that's why we have to try to save them. But we don't try to save them by being bullies ourselves, and we don't try to save them by trying to tell them that they're wrong. We try to save them with love. We try to save them by showing how awful we were first before God came and saved us. That's what works. That's what can get them to soften their hearts. That's our only job, is to try to show how much we grasp God's love in our lives. Grace makes me want to be like God. I already know what life was like without God. I already know what life was like when I was my own God. I already know what life was like when I could do whatever I wanted to and everyone be damned. I lived an awful life. I did whatever I wanted to, and I didn't care if I hurt everybody in my life. But once I got grace, I didn't want to be that person anymore. So if somebody's saying grace just gives you license to want to continue to be a bad, ugly person, says who? Who really wants to behave that way? People that get grace are not going to behave that way. So people trying to fight against the hypergrace message, they have to first demonstrate who is the person that's saying these things. And then we can attack like the preacher, but don't attack the just this general amorphous movement of grace and try to label it as like hyper grace. What does that even mean? Who's providing this label of hyper grace? And then you actually have to demonstrate like what that even means. Is there someone that is in a position of authority that's saying, hey, guess what? Jesus gives you grace. Now go home and do whatever you want to do. Hey, all you adulterers, God's giving you a way to like get out of jail free card. Now, guess what? You can just keep like banging your side piece. No, who says that? I don't know anybody that says that grace means you get to keep doing those things. So what is this even talking about? I don't get it at all. We are redeemed by grace through faith. And if love matters at all to us, then the way that we do that is through gratitude and love. If you stomp all over somebody that you care about, and their response to that isn't that they wash their hands of you, but instead they forgive you, they say, you know what, you were evil and nasty to me, you were ugly to me, but I'm going to love you in my response. I'm going to say, you know what, it's not cool what you did, but I forgive you for that. If you really care about that person, there's one reaction that tends to happen. Your heart's going to burst wide open. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like this person is so much better than me. Wow, they're willing to do that for me. I don't know that I could be that strong of a person, be able to forgive somebody like if I did that to them. And this person's doing that for me. The way that I'm going to repay this grace is by like trying to be the best person that I can in response, because it matters to me what this person thinks of me. This love I value so highly that I'm going to do my best to try to live a good life in response to this grace, to this forgiveness. And because that's a human response that we would do when human people do it, the response can be so much more. How much more when a God demonstrates this to you? When a God says, I know all about you. I know everything about you. There's nothing that you can hide from me. And I know your true, raw, ugly nastiness. And I love you so much that I'm going to give my life for you. I'm going to die for you. So it's not hyper grace. It's amazing grace. So I hope that made some sense to everybody. God bless you, and we will talk again next time.